All right. Welcome, Team Wilpers crew. My name is Justin. I'm one of the coaches at Team Wilpers, and welcome to a little new setup here for um, our live athlete briefing. So, trying something new here. If it doesn't work, you'll get the link. We'll post about it when when it goes live or recorded on YouTube, and we'll get into Facebook. Anyway, hopefully it goes fine, and we are in action here. So. We're going to do the normal setup here. All right, couple new things. All right, so welcome, first of all, to our Summer Run Challenge 2025. This is athlete briefing number 8. So it's the last one. We're in block number 2, week number 8, and this is the final countdown. All right, before we get into looking at tips and tricks for the final countdown and the final week, how we approach going into the last bit of a training block, into a competition, into an event, into a big adventure or challenge. Let's get to our normal plugs here. So make sure you're following us on Instagram and Facebook at Team Wilpers. You can check everything out at teamwilpers.com. And just remember, you shouldn't be new here, but if you're watching this on YouTube somewhere, we have an all access version that's for $10 a month. It's like 33 cents a day or something. Don't check my math. I did it once, a long time ago. But essentially, you get customized strength to each program. You have training programs and for other distances, marathons from novice, intermediate to advanced, and 5Ks, 10K plans. And you also, inside the challenges, get to change your difficulty level. If you've been around, you've heard this stuff, but just making sure you have all the information you need. You can follow me at J Harris Coaching on Instagram. Also on Facebook, but more on Instagram. So we're going to get into the final countdown, how to approach things. But first, I want to get into the week ahead for week number 8. Right now, you're finishing up week number 7. Is the highest volume of the entire plan. In week 8, we are going to back off volume so we can kind of land this bird. We're going to land the plane into our final destination and get going. So as I tell my athletes, and we talk at Team Wilpers a lot with our coaches as we're chatting, in this week going in, you can do more harm than you can do good. So often, we pull back on some volume and people are like, all right, let me, do one more test event or one more interval or really push it. And you're just kind of taking away from what you have to give at the end. For us, it's on Saturday, will be a 20-minute test. I really suggest that you do that to see where you're at and also get in the habit of kind of practicing going hard and getting set up and mentally prepared. So when we say doing more harm than you can do good, training really is like we talk about progressive overloading. Matt talks about it a lot, that we're trying to, build you up and then take an unloading week and then build you up further and take an unloading week. So we should be where a little bit higher than where we started for sure, even maybe way up here. But the thing is, if you keep putting pressure on yourself, and it's particularly in the last week, it just ends up, you don't get as much gain as you want. So I try to make the analogy here. It's like we're saving up money to go on vacation and we're building credits in the bank as we're training along. And then it's like the week before and we're going out to eat and doing all this stuff, like spending down on our vacation budget. And we want to send all that money so we can spend all that money on the vacation, which is the event, on the key day, and let it rip. So some things that we can do to help us prepare for the end of a planned program or get ready for a race is rest. All right. So it's little things like just going to bed like a half hour earlier. You don't have to sleep extra, just, getting bed and relaxing a little bit more. Try not to overbook, the extra little bit of time you have to be with yourself. In these little extra times, we can be better about hydrating, making sure we're getting good nutrition in, making sure we're topping off on electrolytes, making sure we're getting like mobility and extra stretches in a little bit, nothing new, all right, on race week. All right. But the big one that we don't talk about too much is visualizing, the effort that's going to come. And there's research on both sides to imagine everything, great. And then, on the other side is, imagine what could go scenario plan the challenges that might be ahead of you, whether, hey, I know it always hurts at the 10-minute mark of the 20-minute test. Well, visualize like how you're going to overcome that and how you're going to reframe that. And when we visualize it, it allows us to really kind of make a decision before it happens, right? So that when it happens, we're not sitting there for 30 seconds a minute, like trying to figure out what to do. We've already made a decision in our head. We also want to visualize on the positive side, like running light, feeling good, and that we're really excited for the event. Now, we all feel a little anxious, anxiety, but if we can reframe it as, we're excited for the challenge and we get to see where we're at today, right? Training is really, as I talked last time, there's like kind of a difference between, having a finite mindset versus an infinite mindset. That this is really in a finite, it's like it's end all be all. This is it. Like, this is all I have. I got to give everything. Well, we should have, give everything on, the big test day. The other side of things is to look at this as just like a series of steps in our journey to mastering us being a good endurance athlete. And that's what we're really trying to do with these challenges, is help you learn good techniques to train smarter and not necessarily harder. We talked about minimal effective dose in the last challenge. If 500 milligrams of Tylenol works, like 1,000 or 15 or 2,000 doesn't mean it's exponentially better. It could be a little bit worse. Okay. But in, race week, and I'm thinking kind of like, big races, A races or whatever, it's something to talk about, like I tell people like, hey, be social, but be mindful, right? Everyone, especially if you're flying in somewhere to like meet up with a friend, or it's a city you've never been in, and here, this is just for the 20-minute test, right? This is not geared to any specific race. But, if you see friends and stuff, it's like, it's not like, oh, I can't do anything the week of, I can't hang out with you, or I can't have a glass of wine or something. Like, it's just being mindful of what you're doing and knowing that you can do more harm than good, right? Same thing as isolating and being in your own thoughts and letting that, like, movie reel keep playing of, whatever it is, and we're getting all whooped up. Like, that's not helpful, right? So we want to kind of maintain the habits that we developed and not be super restrictive. Okay. So be social, but mindful. And on race day or the day before, like a hard assessment, like I'm not staying up to midnight and doing all this stuff and grabbing a couple of drinks with my friends or whatever. Like, I might have a glass of wine with my wife and then, go to bed a little bit earlier and be ready to go. Okay. So when we talk about the final countdown going into something, it's really recognizing that you can do more harm than you can do good. Use the little extra time you have to rest, hydrate, do some stretches, and to visualize, the performance that you would like to have, right? Don't just visualize the good. You can also visualize visualize scenarios that are going to come up and be challenging, right? So so that's the final countdown, and that's where we go with this. One thing I'll say is, make sure you're interacting in questions and answer, Q&A, like just put stuff in the chat and I'll round to it into the back there. All right. And so, all right, what's coming up with the week ahead? So with the week ahead, what we're doing here is we're really backing off volume and everything else, right? So what we're trying to do here is we're going back to speed play. So, we've cycled speed play for a while, minute on, minute offs, right? So instead of like having the harder workout, we're going to back off. So this means, you do not have freedom to really like jack up the velocity intensity. Be about where you've been and leave a little. Don't start spending the money that we have in the bank yet, right? So be mindful. All right, this week, that's kind of the cue here on the final countdown, is that be mindful of, like, we want the same intensity, but don't leave your 20-minute tests or your 5K or anything on the Monday or the week of. Okay. So we're going to go back to speed play, minute on, minute offs. All right. And there's going to overall be a little less volume. Don't fill in the voids of less volume with another yoga session and this and that. Like, let us keep the money in the bank. That's the goal. All right. There's no long run this week because I'm really trying to encourage you all to do the 20-minute test. We've been training. Most of you have been training for a very long time. You've been with us through the winter, the spring challenge, now the summer challenge, and we have a bridge program to get us 4 weeks in between and get us to the fall challenge. But the 20-minute tests are hard, but some of my best athletes are racing, at least, every other month they're getting an effort in some way, shape, or form. So it's important that you get out there and do that. If for some reason you're using our challenges, to train for a marathon or something, and you're adding more volume, I would still, a lot of the marathons are still far away, the big ones. And you have an opportunity to give it one last effort before we get into the fall plan and whatnot. Okay. So with all that said, I'm what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the next thing. So the next program we have is the All Access, the All Access Bridge program that Coach Ferry's writing. So it'll be 4 weeks to get us from between the summer plan and the fall plan. And the fall plan, I think, starts the end of September, like 22nd or something like that. So that plan is going to be geared towards more 10K and half marathon. And it's going to allow us to continue to build on the work that we've done. The summer plan was like short, sweet. There's a lot of chaos in the summer, good stuff, vacations, change of schedules. But now we're starting to get, back into our fall routine. Kids are back to school. We're back in the office a little bit more. Our vacations, most of us are all used up. But these things are coming. And so be sure to look for the emails from us on how to join those plans. If you're in the Team Wilpers portal on our challenge websites, they'll pop up pretty soon, but you'll get an email for that. So with all that said we have some people, I'm just going through the chats. Hi, Dana. All right. So we have some of this cool stuff. All right. Hi. All right. Yeah. So Esther, all right. Like looking forward to the 20-minute test, right? So, when you really put in the training and you're consistent, we end up looking forward to the stuff that we're doing here. And it's really cool. Like when training's going well, the main thing we need to focus on too is just trying to be really consistent and focusing on, what's to come next. And when things aren't going well, the 20-minute test is a real challenge mentally to do. But sometimes it's really good to see where we're at. I remember Matt, doing a FTP test when we started working together. And he's like, yep, it was lower. That's a reality. I know I'm not as fit. And these are my actual numbers. So we forget that the 20-minute test is just like this really painful thing. But the whole challenge setup and everything in this portal is really set up around making sure you have the right paces and that we're prescribing you to help you train smarter and not harder. Okay. So with all that said, I will stay on for just a couple of moments later if anyone has any questions. But yes, Christina, as Christina said, is, we made it to week 8, right? Yeah. So give yourself a, pat on the back. It's not hard to get here. We do have some attrition, on these plans. It's everyone has good intentions, but we've all been there before, where things, pop up and we can't quite follow to what we want to do, right? Like we can't be as consistent as we want to be, and that's okay, right? So, so yeah. These are all good things to come in here. So congratulations there. Okay, Christina is asking, what's a good place to start the 20-minute test at? So technically, your threshold pace or half marathon pace is something that you can do, for like an hour to 2 hours, right? So when we're talking 20 minutes, like we should at least be starting at least threshold pace for maybe a little bit and getting up there. Your VO2 max pace is really something that you can do for 10 minutes. So it's really kind of in this medium zone. So, if you're unsure with it, like to get your absolute proper numbers, like you kind of need to be at it and flatline and then maybe fade a little bit. That's going to give you your most accurate numbers. I think most of us kind of work our way into it early on and then hang on and then pick it up. If you're like kind of start at aerobic run pace and then threshold, and just work your way up, the average of that is going to be much lower than something that is much higher and finishing off or fading a little bit. So this is like a fine art of doing it. There's not a set way of doing it, but we kind of want to get into it pretty good. For me, when I've done it, I get to 10 minutes and I'm like, whoo, like this is This is pretty intense, and it's going to be hard to last the whole entire way, right? But this is where we chunk information, and we don't think about it's 10 minutes. Let's just get to the next minute, get to the next minute, get to the next minute, and so on and so forth. So, it's a great question. It comes up often, but, we really want to be, quite a bit slower than VO2 max, a little faster than threshold, certainly faster than half marathon goal pace. So, these are all great questions. So I don't want to take a lot of your time. Thanks for joining me here. And I really, by the fact that I'm seeing comments and everything, this whole new setup work. Again, you can follow us on Instagram at Team Wilpers, on Instagram at Team Wilpers or J Harris Coaching, on Facebook, Team Wilpers or J Harris Coaching. And where you really interact with us is on the Team Wilpers running group. We have 12,000 members. Show your highlights, your lowlights, ask questions. It's all there for us to engage on and be a united community. So with all that said, I hope you all enjoy your weekend. I hope you all enjoy week number seven and week number 8. I won't talk to you for another several weeks. All right. So wish you all the best. Hit us up on Instagram, ask us questions, tag us, and let us know, how things went, right? You can tag us with your 20-minute test, tag us with, your big takeaways and stuff like that. And we look forward to seeing you on the next challenge. Look in your inbox for your email for the All Access Bridge program. You have to be an All Access member. And for the fall 2025 challenge, where we're going to focus on 10K and half marathon. So the volume is going to go up a little bit. We're going to focus a little bit more on threshold. Excited to bring it all to you. So with all that said, I will see you all next time. Later.